I was forced to pay $100,000 for an over-the-top for princess wedding the groom's parents demand. I don't think it's fair. Hey Reddit. When my fiancé and I got engaged, I thought we would plan something simple but elegant, something that reflected our tastes. Instead, it's turned into a full-blown battle with his parents, who are treating our wedding as if it's their personal royal gala. The problem? They expect me to foot the bill for their extravagant vision, and they won't take no for an answer. From the moment we announced our engagement, his mother, Linda, took over as if she were the event planner. She immediately started throwing out ideas about a grand ballroom, a designer gown, a 10-tier cake, and a guest list that seemed to include every person they had ever met. At first, I thought it was just excitement. I smiled, nodded, and assumed we would eventually sit down and discuss things realistically. But the more I tried to suggest something within a reasonable budget, the more I realized they had no intention of compromising. The first real argument happened when we started looking at venues. My fiancé and I had a budget in mind, around $30,000 max, which I already thought was generous. But Linda turned her nose up at every option we presented. She insisted we needed the most prestigious venue in town, one that alone would cost nearly $50,000 just for the space. When I reminded her that this was well beyond our budget, she scoffed and said, "Oh, don't worry, you'll find a way to afford it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event." That was the first red flag. It only got worse from there. She and my future father-in-law started booking meetings with luxury wedding planners without even consulting us. They came back with proposals that were so extravagant I actually laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. A $20,000 floral budget? A custom couture dress costing over $15,000? A fireworks display at the reception? They even wanted to hire doves to be released as we said our vows. Every time I tried to bring up a more reasonable alternative, Linda would brush it off, saying, "This is what a proper wedding should look like. Do you really want to embarrass our family with something small and forgettable?" At this point, I started questioning whether my fiancé was actually on my side. He kept saying he understood my concerns, but also didn't want to disappoint his parents. He suggested maybe we could try to meet them halfway. But how do you meet halfway when their expectations are sitting at $100,000? He even floated the idea that we take out a loan for part of it. A loan? For one day? I was absolutely floored. I sat down with Linda and my future father-in-law and told them, as politely as possible, that I was not comfortable spending that kind of money, and that a wedding should be about the couple, not just a spectacle for the guests. Linda actually rolled her eyes at me and said, "Sweetheart, this isn't just about you. This is about our family's reputation. People will talk if we don't do this right." My jaw nearly hit the floor. Things escalated even further when they started making purchases without consulting us. One day, I got an excited call from Linda, telling me they had already put down a deposit on the venue. The same $50,000 venue I had explicitly said was out of budget. When I told her we couldn't afford it, she waved it off, saying we had plenty of time to figure it out. The audacity was unbelievable. They weren't offering to pay for any of this. They just assumed I would find a way to make it happen, as if I had a secret trust fund hidden somewhere. The final straw came when they handed me a spreadsheet detailing all their necessary expenses, none of which I had agreed to, and it totaled over $100,000. When I asked, "Who do you expect to pay for all of this?" they just stared at me blankly, as if it was obvious. I walked out of that meeting feeling completely defeated. My fiancé tried to console me, but I could tell he was hesitant to actually stand up to them. That's when I realized that this wasn't just about the wedding. This was a preview of what my entire future with him would look like. His parents dictating everything, expecting me to comply, and him standing off to the side, too afraid to upset them. That night, I told my fiancé that we needed to set boundaries, or there wouldn't be a wedding at all. I was not going to bankrupt myself to fulfill his parents' fantasy. He looked conflicted, like he was torn between me and them, which honestly hurt more than anything. Shouldn't my feelings come first? Shouldn't we be making these decisions together? I gave him an ultimatum. Either he backs me up and we set a firm budget together, or I was done. I expected him to immediately say, "Of course, I'm with you." But instead, he hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. Now, I'm sitting here wondering if I even want to go through with this wedding anymore. Because if he can't stand up to them now, what happens when they start interfering in our marriage? What happens when they try to control our future children, our finances, our home? If I cave now, am I setting myself up for a lifetime of being steamrolled? And worst of all, I can tell they think I'm the unreasonable one. Linda has already started spreading the narrative to their extended family that I'm being difficult and cheap and that I don't care about the family name. I'm getting side eyes from relatives who suddenly think I'm some selfish villain who doesn't want to give their son the wedding he deserves. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff and I don't know what to do. Do I keep fighting this battle and hope my fiancé finally grows a spine? Or do I walk away before I'm locked into a marriage where I'm always expected to bend to their will? Because right now, it's starting to feel like this wedding isn't just about a single day. It's a glimpse into what the rest of my life might look like. And I'm not sure I like what I see. I spent the next few days in a fog, replaying everything over and over in my head. I kept hoping my fiancé would come to his senses, that he'd realize how unfair this all was. But instead, he seemed to be avoiding the conversation entirely. Every time I tried to bring it up, he'd say things like, "Let's not fight about this," or "We'll figure it out," as if magically, a solution would appear. But I had given him a solution: set a reasonable budget, stand up to his parents, and put us first. And yet, he was still stuck in this weird limbo where he didn't want to disappoint them, even at the cost of our future. Meanwhile, Linda was doubling down. She sent me emails with links to extravagant dresses, seating charts for their guest list, and reminders about payments that I had never agreed to make. At one point, she even suggested I ask my parents for financial help since it was tradition for the bride's family to contribute. The audacity made my blood boil. My parents weren't wealthy, and even if they were, I would never ask them to fund a wedding that wasn't even what I wanted. Then came the guilt tripping. My fiancé told me that his mother was so stressed and just wants everything to be perfect. He made it seem like I was the problem for not just going along with it. That's when I realized he wasn't on my side. He was never going to be on my side. No matter how ridiculous his parents' demands were, no matter how unfair they treated me, he would always make excuses for them. I had to accept the truth. This wasn't just a wedding issue. This was a marriage issue. If I married him, I wasn't just marrying him. I was marrying his entire family and their controlling, entitled ways. And the worst part? He wasn't just allowing it. He was enabling it. So, I made the hardest decision of my life. I sat him down and told him I couldn't do this anymore. If he couldn't put me first before we were even married, what chance did I have of him doing it after? He panicked, begged me to reconsider, even suggested we postpone the wedding to figure things out. But I knew better. This wasn't something that would magically fix itself with time. He had shown me exactly where his priorities were, and I refused to be a second choice to his parents for the rest of my life. When I broke the news to his parents, Linda had the audacity to act shocked, as if she couldn't fathom why I would walk away. She even tried to spin it as me being too emotional and not understanding the importance of family. But I had understood perfectly. I understood that in their eyes, I would never come first. So I walked away. No wedding. No $100,000 spectacle. No marriage to a man who couldn't stand up for me. And the craziest part? The second I made that decision, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Because for the first time in this entire process, I was making a choice that was entirely my own. And that was worth more than any wedding could ever be.